Here is the course Business Economics, and I am going to introduce you about this course. Course title is Business Economics. Course code is ECO400. There are 3 credit hours and course instructor is Rehana Naqvi. Now comes course outline. We will try to cover 12 chapters during the semester, inshallah. And names are mentioned here: 10 Principles of Economics, Thinking Like an Economist, The Market Forces of Supply and Demand, Elasticity and its Application, Consumers, Producers and Efficiency of Markets, The Theory of Consumer Behavior, The Costs of Production, Firms in Competitive Markets, Monopoly, Monopolistic Competition, Oligopoly and Factor Markets. Now comes reading material. The book we are going to use is Essentials of Economics, 6th edition or the latest edition by Gregory Mankiw, and reference books are Microeconomics by Jackson and Mclver and Microeconomics by Pindyck and Rubinfield. Next is assessment scheme. 15% weightage is for quizzes, 10% weightage is for assignments. First sessional exam has 10% weightage, second sessional exam has 15% weightage, and final exam has 50% weightage. Now coming towards chapter number 1, that is 10 Principles of Economics. There is learning objectives. In this chapter, we will try to cover all these objectives. Economics is all about allocation of scarce resources. Individuals face trade-offs, meaning of opportunity cost, how to use marginal reasoning when making decisions, how incentives affect people's behavior, what determines some trends in overall economy. Next is introduction about the chapter. First of all, I am going to share the evolution of economics, that how economics came into existence. In old days, people used the word oikonomos for the management of house affairs. Oikonomos is a Greek word, means management of house affairs. Now the question arises here, what are household affairs? On one side, the income of household, and on the other side is the expenditures of household. What are the sources of household? What are the expenditures? Spendings on food, travel, education, etc. This all comes in household affairs. Next is the proper definition of economics, that is, economics is a science which studies human behavior as a relationship between multiple ends, and scarce means which have alternative uses. Basically, it's the study of how society uses its limited resources. A household and an economy face many decisions. When we talk about households and firms, they have to make decisions in their business environment. Which decisions are to be made by them? Who will work? Who cooks food? Who pays the bill? All these facts depend on each member's abilities, efforts, and desires. Society faces decisions as well. Who will be in charge for food? Who will ride a bike or a car? What goods and how many of them should be produced? What resources should be used in production? And at what price should the good be sold? These all are the decisions faced by household and economy. Society and scarce resources. When we talk about these decisions, so we are going to talk about the relationship between society and scarce resources. The management of society's resources is important because resources are scarce. Here the word scarce means limited. Management of resources is important because resources are scarce or limited. That's why the management of resources is very important. Scarcity means that society has limited resources and therefore cannot produce all the goods and services people wish to have. Since economy or household have limited resources, all goods people want cannot be produced with limited resources. That means that people have unlimited desires but the resources are limited. So we have to manage the society's resources because they are limited. So we have to make decisions. Now, economics is the study of how society manages its scarce resources. So here another definition of economics comes, that is, economics is the study of how society manages its scarce resources. Basically, the management of scarce resources is all about economics. Types of economics. There are two main types of economics: microeconomics and macroeconomics. Micro means small. Microeconomics focuses on the individual parts of the economy, that how household and firms make decisions and how they interact in specific markets, such as demand supply, market structure, cost and production, all comes in microeconomics. Next is macroeconomics. As the word macro here means big. So macroeconomics look at the economy as a whole. Economy-wide phenomena including inflation, unemployment and economic growth. This all comes under macroeconomics. 10 principles of economics. These 10 principles are divided into 3 categories. First is how people make decisions, and principles that come under this category are: people face trade-offs, the cost of something is what you give up to get it, rational people think at the margin, people respond to incentives. So basically 4 principles come under the category, that is how people make decisions. Next category is how people interact with each other, and the principles under this category are: trade can make everyone better off, markets are usually a good place to organize economic activity, and governments can sometimes improve economic outcomes. Next category is the forces and trends that affect how the economy as a whole works. And again, there are 3 principles that are under this category. First is the standard of living depends on a country's production. Second is prices rise when the government prints too much money. And the last one is society faces a short-run trade-off between inflation and unemployment. Now coming towards first principle, that is people face trade-offs. Here the word trade-off means exchange. There is no such thing as a free lunch. Means that there is nothing free. Everything has its own cost. To get one thing, we usually have to give up another thing because resources are scarce and we have to make decisions. Here examples that are mentioned are guns versus butter, food versus clothing, leisure time versus work, and efficiency versus equity. In case of guns versus butter, same labor and capital, but limited. So, decision has to be taken to produce one of them. Like there comes the concept of trade-off. You have to trade off between the production of guns or butter. If I am interested in leisure time, so I have to sacrifice some of the time from my work. So again, I have to face a trade-off between leisure time and work. Making decisions requires trading off one goal against another. That means that if there are two options in front of you, but you have to make a decision uh, that requires the trading of one goal against another. You have to sacrifice another option. Next is efficiency versus equity. Efficiency means society gets the most that it can from its scarce resources. Efficiency basically is how society can efficiently or optimally utilize its scarce resources or get the maximum level of output. That is the efficiency. That means that the economy or the society can efficiently uses its scarce resources to get the maximum of the output. That is efficiency. And next is equity. Equity means the benefit of those resources are distributed fairly among the members of society. It means that benefits obtained from scarce resources are distributed fairly among different sections of economy. Next comes principle number 2, that is the cost of something is what you give up to get it. Here comes the concept of opportunity cost. And I will explain opportunity cost later after reading this slide. Decisions require comparing costs and benefits of alternatives. whether to go to college or to work, whether to study or go out for shopping, whether to go to class or sleep in, apple and orange. I'm going to explain the last one, that is apple and orange. If you have two choices, that is apple and orange, and you choose apple, then your opportunity cost is orange. You could have chosen, but you did not. You gave up the opportunity to take the orange in order to choose apple. The opportunity cost of an item is what you give up to obtain that item. It means that the thing you are giving up in order to obtain some other thing. So this is the concept of opportunity cost. Here, opportunity cost is the value of opportunity lost. I'm explaining this again. Opportunity cost is the value of opportunity lost. Value has two parts, benefits and costs. Cost of apple is low. I'm explaining the same example of apple and orange. Here, let's suppose if the cost of apple is low, but you enjoy it a lot. That means that you like apples and you want to purchase apple because you like apple more than oranges. Looking choices in terms of benefits and cost helps you make better economic decisions. The opportunity cost of an item is what you give up to obtain that item, and this is the definition of opportunity cost, that you have to give up some item in order to obtain another item. So that is the opportunity cost of the item you have forgone to obtain the other one. I'm going to stop lecture 1, part 1 till here, and in the next lecture, part 2, I will going to explain the next 8 principles of economics. Listen this lecture carefully, and if you have any question, do let me know when we have an interactive session. Thank you so much.